Alien girl teased she'd be his if he discovered the rarest flower. The look on her face when he did. Jason Brown wiped sweat from his brow as he trekked through the dense alien jungle of Cerulean 9. The planet's twin suns blazed down relentlessly, their rays filtering through the canopy of shimmering leaves above. His bare torso glistened with sweat, dark cargo pants clinging to his strong legs as he pushed through the exotic vegetation. "Another survey mission," he muttered. Checking his handheld scanner, he noted that the device was meant to detect valuable mineral deposits. But so far, it had only led him deeper into this maze of glowing flora. As a freelance prospector for the Terran Mining Corporation, Jason was accustomed to exploring uncharted worlds. But something about this jungle felt unusual. The air itself seemed to thrum with an otherworldly energy, and the local plant life displayed patterns he'd never seen before. A flicker of movement caught his eye through the translucent foliage. He caught a glimpse of something that made his heart race. A feminine figure with skin the color of a summer sky moved gracefully among the trees. Jason instinctively ducked behind a broadleaf plant, his training kicking in. The scanner had indicated no sentient life forms in this sector, yet there she was, an alien woman of stunning beauty. Her long azure hair flowed like liquid starlight around her shoulders, and her form-fitting black jumpsuit accentuated every curve, with a plunging neckline and off-shoulder design revealing more of that captivating blue skin. She moved with an ethereal grace, examining various plants with delicate fingers that seemed to glow faintly in the dappled sunlight. Jason knew he should report this encounter immediately. First contact protocols were clear: observe, document, and avoid interaction. But something about her captivated him. Perhaps it was the way she hummed softly to herself, or how her hair seemed to catch starlight that wasn't there. "You can stop hiding now, human," she called out suddenly, her voice melodic and playful. "Your breathing is rather loud." Caught off guard, Jason straightened up from his hiding spot, trying to maintain some dignity despite being discovered like a schoolboy. "Well, in my defense, I wasn't expecting to find anyone else out here, let alone someone so." He gestured vaguely at her blue skin. She turned to face him fully, and Jason felt his breath catch. Her eyes were like liquid silver with no pupils or irises, just swirling pools of mercury that somehow conveyed both amusement and disdain. "I am Ria Nar," she said, her tone carrying a hint of superiority, "and you are trespassing in my research area." Jason raised an eyebrow, crossing his muscular arms across his chest. "Funny, I don't see any 'No Humans Allowed' signs posted. Besides, this sector was marked as uninhabited on all our scans." "Your primitive scanning technology wouldn't detect my kind," she replied with a dismissive wave. "We've evolved far beyond such basic detection methods." "Primitive?" Jason couldn't help but grin. Strong words from someone who's out here playing with plants. Ria's silver eyes narrowed, but Jason noticed the slight twitch at the corner of her mouth. "These plants, as you so crudely put it, contain compounds that could revolutionize interstellar travel, though I wouldn't expect a mere prospector to understand such matters." "Mere prospector?" Jason stepped closer, noting how she didn't back away despite her apparent disdain. "I'll have you know I've discovered 3 new viable energy sources on unexplored worlds." "That's hardly remarkable." "How fascinating," she drawled, though her eyes tracked his movement with unmistakable interest. "Next you'll tell me you can also identify complex botanical specimens." "Try me," he challenged, enjoying their verbal sparring more than he probably should. Ria's lips curved into a playful smile. "Very well, human. If you're so clever, perhaps you would like to prove it. There's a flower in this jungle that my people have sought for centuries. The luminous heart that blooms once every 50 years with translucent petals that glow blue-green in the darkness." "Then let me guess. If I find it, you'll be impressed?" Jason's grin widened. Her laughter was like crystal chimes in the wind. "Oh, you amusing creature. You find the luminous heart, I'll be entirely yours." The words hung in the air between them, charged with something more than mere challenge. Jason knew she was just trying to get rid of him, probably assuming the task was impossible, but there was something in those mercury eyes that made him wonder if she was also curious to see if he could actually do it. "Deal," he said firmly, extending his hand. Ria stared at the offered handshake, as if he had presented her with a live serpent. Finally, with exquisite reluctance, she placed her delicate blue hand in his. The contact sent a subtle electric charge through his arm. "You have until moonrise," she said, withdrawing her hand. "Though you're wasting your time. Better beings than you have tried and failed." Jason winked at her. "Better beings than me weren't human." Jason moved through the jungle with purpose, his mind racing. Something about Rhea's challenge nagged at him. Not just her dismissive attitude, but the way she described the flower. Translucent petals that glowed blue-green in darkness. He paused, wiping sweat from his brow as he considered the alien vegetation surrounding him. Most of the plants here had some degree of bioluminescence, but they all shared a common trait. Their glow was constant, regardless of light conditions. "What if?" he muttered, pulling out his scanner and recalibrating it. Instead of searching for mineral deposits, he adjusted it to detect light variations. The device hummed softly as it processed the new parameters. The jungle had grown darker, as one of the twin suns had set, leaving only its dimmer companion to illuminate the alien landscape. Perfect conditions for testing his theory. As he walked, Jason reflected on Rhea's reaction to their encounter. Despite her apparent disdain, he'd caught her studying him with genuine curiosity. Those mercury eyes had lingered on his bare chest, perhaps a moment longer than necessary, and her dismissive attitude seemed more like a practiced defense than genuine disinterest. His scanner beeped, drawing his attention to a cluster of what appeared to be ordinary crystal-like growths near the base of a massive tree. During full daylight they looked completely transparent, but as shadows lengthened— "Son of a—" Jason breathed, watching as a subtle blue-green glow began to emanate from within the crystals. He crouched down for a closer look, noting how the luminescence seemed to pulse gently like a heartbeat. They weren't crystals at all. They were flowers. The luminous heart grew in clusters, their petals so perfectly clear they were nearly invisible in bright light. Only in the transition between day and night did they reveal their true nature. Jason laughed out loud. "They've been looking in the wrong direction this whole time, searching for something obvious when nature's greatest treasures often hide in plain sight." He carefully documented the location and took several readings with his scanner. The flowers were even more remarkable up close. Each bloom was composed of petals so delicate they seemed made of living glass, with intricate patterns that only became visible when they glowed. "Time to collect my prize," he murmured, but then paused as something about simply plucking one felt wrong. These weren't just rare flowers. They were an integral part of this alien ecosystem. Instead, he set up a small, hollow recorder to capture the flower's transformation as the light changed. Making his way back to where he'd left Rhea, Jason couldn't help but grin, imagining her reaction. He found her exactly where they'd parted, examining some sort of vine with glowing purple thorns. "Back so soon?" she asked, without looking up. "Ready to admit defeat?" "Actually," Jason said, leaning casually against a tree, "I thought you might like to take a walk with me. There's something I want to show you." Rhea finally turned to face him, her silver eyes narrowing. "You're remarkably confident for someone who's about to disappoint me." "Oh, I don't think you'll be disappointed." He pushed off from the tree and held out his hand. "Unless you're afraid to be proven wrong." Her lips twitched. "Afraid of a human's misguided certainty?" "Hardly." She ignored his offered hand but gestured for him to lead the way. As they walked, Jason noticed how she moved with unconscious grace, her feet barely seeming to touch the ground. The fading sunlight played across her blue skin, creating patterns that reminded him of Earth's auroras. "Your kind has an interesting way of looking at things," she said suddenly. "So direct, so unrefined, yet occasionally you surprise us. Is that what you're hoping for? A surprise?" "I'm not hoping for anything," she replied, but her tone had lost some of its earlier sharpness. "Though I admit your persistence is not entirely annoying." Jason chuckled. "High praise indeed. We're almost there. Watch your step here." They reached the massive tree just as the second sun began to set. The crystal-like clusters were still transparent, showing no sign of their hidden nature. Rhea looked around, confusion evident on her face. "There's nothing here but common crystal formations. Surely you don't think—" Her words trailed off as the darkness deepened, and the first hints of blue-green light began to emerge from the clusters. Jason watched her expression change from confusion to disbelief, to wonder, as the luminous hearts revealed themselves. "Impossible," she breathed, kneeling beside the flowers. "We've searched for centuries. How did you? Quote. "Sometimes you need fresh eyes," Jason said softly. "Your people were looking for something that stood out. something obviously special. But the most precious things in nature often protect themselves by appearing ordinary. Rhea reached out to touch one of the glowing blooms, her fingers trembling slightly. All this time, they were here waiting to be truly seen. She looked up at him, her mercury eyes swirling with emotion. "How did you know?" "Human intuition," he said with a slight smile. "That, and we have a saying. Sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes you need to step back and question your basic assumptions." She rose gracefully, moving closer to him. "You've proven me wrong, Jason Brown, about more than just the flowers." "Does this mean you'll hold up your end of the bargain?" he asked, only half joking. Rhea's lips curved into a mysterious smile. "Perhaps, though I should warn you, my people's concept of belonging is quite different from yours." "I'm willing to learn," he said, noting how the flowers' glow reflected in her eyes, creating galaxies in their mercurial depths. "Are you?" She stepped closer still, close enough that he could feel the subtle electric charge that seemed to emanate from her skin. "My kind forms bonds that go beyond your physical understanding. When we belong to someone, it's absolute. Mind, body, and something your languages don't even have words for." Jason met her gaze steadily. "Sounds intense." "It can be overwhelming for other species," she admitted, reaching up to trace the line of his jaw with one delicate finger. The contact sent shivers down his spine. "But you, human, you have a reputation for adapting to the impossible." "Is that a challenge?" Her laugh was like stardust. "Everything is a challenge to your kind, isn't it? That's what makes you so fascinating." The bioluminescent jungle had transformed into a cathedral of light as night fully descended on Cerulean 9. Jason followed Rhea through winding paths he hadn't noticed before, the ground beneath their feet releasing soft pulses of light with each step. "My people's bonding ritual begins with the sharing of essence," Rhea explained, her voice carrying an ethereal quality in the darkness. "It's not just physical. It's a merging of consciousness, of life force itself." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Sounds intense. Do I need to sign any waiver forms?" Her laughter echoed through the glowing foliage. "Your species' reliance on paperwork is charming." "No, Jason. This requires only willing participants in absolute trust." They emerged into a clearing where crystal formations similar to the luminous heart grew in concentric circles. At the center stood an ancient tree, its trunk wrapped in luminous vines that pulsed in sync with the crystals around it. "This is a sacred grove," Rhea said, turning to face him. "Few outsiders have ever seen one, let alone participated in what happens here." "And what exactly happens here?" Jason asked, noting how the light played across her blue skin, making her appear almost translucent. "First," she said, stepping closer, "we establish preliminary compatibility." Her hand reached out to touch his chest, directly over his heart. The contact sent waves of tingling energy through his body. "Your physical form is surprisingly suitable." "Thanks, I think. But physical compatibility is merely the beginning," she continued, her mercury eyes swirling with mysterious patterns. "Our bonds reshape both participants at a molecular level. It can be overwhelming." Jason caught her hand as she began to withdraw it, holding it against his chest. "I've never been one to back down from a challenge, especially one this intriguing." "No," she murmured. "You humans never do back down, do you? It's what makes you both fascinating and terrifying to my people." She guided him to the center of the grove, where the ground itself seemed to pulse with living light. "Remove your boots," she instructed. "The connection requires direct contact with the sacred earth." And as Jason complied, Rhea began a soft melodic humming that seemed to resonate with the surrounding crystals. The air grew thick with an electric charge that made his skin tingle. "The initial phase can be intense," she warned, positioning herself in front of him. "Your mind will try to categorize the sensations using familiar references, but you must let go of those expectations." "I'm starting to think you're enjoying making me nervous," Jason said with a grin. "Perhaps," she admitted, a mischievous glint in her mercury eyes, "though I suspect you'll surprise me again with your adaptability." She placed her hands on either side of his face, and the world exploded into sensation. Colors he had no names for flooded his vision. His consciousness expanded beyond the confines of his body, reaching out to touch something vast, alien, and beautiful. He felt Rhea's presence not as a physical form, but as a complex tapestry of energy, thought, and emotion. Her surprise at his quick adaptation rippled through their connection, followed by something deeper: admiration curiosity, and a growing warmth that transcended physical attraction. Remarkable. Her voice echoed in his mind. Most species resist the initial merger, but you're embracing it. Jason couldn't form words, but his thoughts carried his response. A mixture of wonder and acceptance, tinged with his characteristic humor. The sensation of her amusement rippled through their connection like starlight on water. Through their merged consciousness, he began to understand things about her species that went beyond their physical differences. They existed simultaneously in multiple planes of reality, their blue skin merely the visible manifestation of a much more complex being. This is just the beginning, Rhea's thoughts whispered through his mind. The true bonding goes deeper still. Are you certain you wish to continue? In response, Jason opened himself fully to the connection, letting go of his last mental barriers. The action drew a gasp from Rhea, both physical and mental, as she experienced the full force of human emotional capacity. By the Ancient Ones, she breathed, her physical form trembling. We had no idea your kind could feel so deeply. The grove around them responded to their merged energies, the crystals pulsing in harmony with their shared consciousness. Through their connection, Jason could sense Rhea's growing amazement at human resilience, at their capacity to adapt and embrace the unknown. Your people have underestimated humans, he projected, getting better at communicating through their mental link. We might look simple on the surface, but we're full of surprises. Like finding flowers that hide in plain sight. Her mental touch carried traces of affection and humor. Exactly. The bonding continued through the night, their consciousness merging deeper with each passing moment. Jason experienced fragments of Rhea's memories, the vast crystal cities of her homeworld, the complex social structures of her people, the initial dismissal of humans as primitive species. In turn, she experienced his memories, the thrill of exploration, the joy of discovery, the unshakable human determination to push beyond known boundaries. Through his eyes, she began to understand why humans had spread so quickly across the galaxy, adapting to environments that should have been impossible for them. As the first sun began to rise, their consciousness slowly separated, though something fundamental had changed between them. The connection had left an indelible mark on both their beings. Rhea's physical form solidified before him, her mercury eyes wide with wonder. I never imagined, she started, then paused, searching for words. Your kind's ability to adapt goes beyond the physical. You've formed a bond deeper than any non-native species has ever achieved. Jason steadied himself against the ancient tree, his legs slightly shaky. Is that a good thing? It's an unprecedented thing, she replied, reaching out to steady him. The elders spoke of theoretical possibilities, but to actually experience it. Her voice trailed off as she studied him with new eyes. You continue to defy our expectations. I aim to please, he said with a grin, though the effect was somewhat undermined by how he swayed slightly. Though I wouldn't mind sitting down for a moment. The changes began subtly at first. Jason noticed it the morning after their bonding, when the jungle's bioluminescence seemed to respond to his presence in ways it hadn't before. The plants pulsed gently as he passed, creating patterns that somehow made perfect sense to his altered consciousness. Your cellular structure is adapting, Rhea observed, her mercury eyes tracking the subtle shimmer that had begun to appear beneath his skin when he moved in certain lights. It's extraordinary. Your human DNA is incorporating aspects of our quantum resonance without losing its fundamental integrity. Jason flexed his hand, watching the play of iridescent energy beneath his skin. Is this normal? Because I've got to say, glowing wasn't on my list of expected side effects. Nothing about this is normal, Rhea replied, reaching out to trace the patterns on his arm. Her touch sent cascades of light rippling through both their bodies. Our species has attempted bonding with others before, but never with these results. Your human adaptability is unprecedented. They sat together in a natural alcove formed by the roots of an enormous tree, their bodies naturally oriented toward each other. Trees. The remnants of their mental connection hummed between them, allowing fragments of thoughts and emotions to flow freely. Hey, I can feel the jungle, Jason said, closing his eyes to better focus on the sensation. Not just see it or hear it. I can feel its rhythms, its patterns. It's like everything is connected in ways I never noticed before. Rhea's amazement flowed through their bond. You're accessing the quantum web, the underlying network that connects all living things on this world. Even our most advanced scholars take years to develop this sensitivity. Maybe that's the problem, Jason mused, opening his eyes to look at her. Your people approach it as something to study and master. Humans tend to just dive in and figure it out as we go. A ripple of affectionate exasperation colored their connection. That approach should get you killed more often than not. Probably, he agreed with a grin, but it also leads to discoveries like this. As if to emphasize his point, a wave of sensation washed through their bond. Rhea gasped as her own body responded, her blue skin taking on a subtle golden undertone that seemed to pulse in harmony with Jason's new bioluminescence. The resonance is affecting me too, she whispered, staring at her transformed skin. This shouldn't be possible. Our physical form is supposed to be immutable after maturity. Jason reached out to touch her cheek, watching as their energy intertwined where their skin met. Looks like humanity's talent for impossible things is rubbing off on you. Through their strengthening bond, he could sense her internal struggle, the scientists in her wanting to analyze and understand these changes, warring with a deeper part that wanted to simply embrace them. Your species continues to confound all our expectations, she said, leaning into his touch. We thought ourselves so advanced, so evolved beyond physical concerns. Yet here you are teaching us new ways to change and grow. Their connection deepened with each passing moment, bringing with it new sensations and awareness. Jason found he could perceive multiple layers of reality simultaneously. The physical world overlaid with patterns of energy and quantum possibilities that his human mind translated into comprehensible forms. There's something else, Rhea said suddenly, her hand pressing against her abdomen. Her mercury eyes widened as she focused on internal changes. The quantum resonance between us? Hissed Tarmit. It's creating something new. Jason felt it through their bond, a tiny spark of combined energy growing stronger by the moment. Are we pregnant? Yes, though that word barely begins to describe it, her voice filled with wonder. This child will be neither fully human nor fully of my kind. It will be something entirely new, a bridge between quantum and physical reality. The implications stunned them both. Through the shared consciousness, they could sense the potential of this unprecedented union, a being that could inherit humanity's adaptability and determination, along with the advanced quantum awareness of Rhea's species. Well, Jason said after a moment, his voice thick with emotion, I guess this takes our relationship to a whole new level. Rhea's laughter sparkled through their bond. Trust a human to make light of an evolutionary miracle. But her affection colored every word. In the hand that wasn't pressed to her abdomen, she reached for his. Someone has to, he replied, entwining their fingers and watching the energy spiral between them. Otherwise, we'd spend all our time being overwhelmed by the profound significance of everything. Their joined hands glowed with combined energy, creating patterns that matched the sacred geometries of the luminous heart flowers. Through their bond, Jason could sense Rhea's growing appreciation for humanity's unique approach to the universe, their ability to face the profound with humor, to adapt to the impossible with remarkable ease. When I made that joking promise about the flower, she admitted, I never imagined it would lead to this. You humans have a way of taking simple challenges and turning them into transformative experiences. It's a gift. Jason agreed, then grew more serious as he felt a wave of concern flow through their bond. What's wrong? My people, they may not understand this. Rhea's free hand continued to rest on her abdomen, protecting the miracle growing within. We've maintained our genetic purity for millennia. This child will challenge everything they believe about evolution and adaptation. Jason squeezed her hand gently. Then they'll have to adapt, won't they? Now. After all, if there's one thing humans are good at, it's helping others embrace change, whether they want to or not. The luminous heart flowers pulsed with unprecedented intensity as Jason and Rhea approached the ancient grove. Through their strengthened bond, both could sense the quantum resonance between the flowers and their unborn child growing stronger with each step. As, through the trials of ascension, Rhea explained, her mercury eyes reflecting the crystalline glow, are traditionally undertaken by pure-blooded males of my species. No outsider has ever been permitted to attempt them. Jason grinned, the bioluminescent patterns beneath his skin brightening with determination. First time for everything. What exactly am I getting myself into? 7 trials, each testing different aspects of quantum mastery. Her hand unconsciously moved to her abdomen, where their child's energy signature grew steadily stronger. Patient. But your unique condition might give you an advantage. The sacred grove had transformed since their bonding, responding to their combined presence in ways Rhea had never witnessed. The crystal formations arranged themselves in intricate patterns, creating a natural amphitheater around the central tree. The flowers, Jason observed, noting how the luminous hearts seemed to reach toward them. They're trying to tell us something. Rhea's eyes widened as she accessed their shared quantum awareness. They're offering to help protect our child during the trials. Such a thing has never. She shook her head in amazement. The sacred flora has never actively participated in the trials before. Through their bond, Jason felt her scientific curiosity warring with traditional beliefs. The flower's behavior defied millennia of established protocols, yet somehow felt absolutely right. Your first trial, she continued, regaining her composure, is the void dance. You must navigate through quantum space without losing your physical form. Jason approached the center of the grove, where the air itself seemed to ripple with possibility. Any tips? Don't die, Rhea suggested, with a mix of concern and humor that felt distinctly human-influenced, though your natural adaptability seems to be rewriting all our assumptions about what's possible. The luminous hearts began to pulse in a complex rhythm, their energy synchronizing with the quantum patterns now visible in Jason's skin. Through their bond, he felt Rhea's sharp intake of breath as their unborn child responded to the resonance. The flowers are creating a protective field around the baby, she whispered in awe. They're actually helping stabilize its quantum matrix. Jason closed his eyes, letting his enhanced essences explore the multiple layers of reality around him. The void dance began as the physical world dissolved, leaving him floating in a sea of pure quantum potential. Traditional participants were expected to maintain their form through rigid discipline and years of training. But Jason took a different approach. Instead of fighting against the void's pull, he embraced it, letting his consciousness expand while anchoring himself through his connection to Rhea and their child. Through their bond, Rhea watched in amazement as he navigated quantum space with natural grace, his human intuition allowing him to flow with the currents rather than impose order upon them. The luminous hearts pulsed in approval, their energy supporting his unconventional technique. Impossible, she breathed, though the word had lost much of its meaning since meeting him. You're actually improving the efficiency of the traditional method. Jason's consciousness brushed against hers playfully as he completed the trial. Sometimes the best way to handle the impossible is to stop treating it like it's impossible. The next trials followed in quick succession. The Harmony Forge required him to manipulate quantum energies to create physical matter, a task he accomplished by treating it like sculpting with light. The Mind Maze tested his ability to maintain individual thought while connected to the quantum collective, something humans with their strong sense of self proved surprisingly adept at. Through each challenge, the luminous hearts continued their unprecedented participation, their energy helping to stabilize both their unborn child and the quantum fields around them. The flowers seemed to recognize something in this unique union that transcended traditional boundaries. The final trial, Rhea announced as the 6th test concluded, is the Soul Surge. You must channel pure quantum energy through your physical form without losing cohesion. Jason rolled his shoulders, the bioluminescent patterns under his skin dancing with accumulated power. Sounds dangerous. It is. Many pure-blooded candidates have failed at this stage. Her concern flowed through their bond, tempered by growing confidence in his abilities. But none of them had what you have. Dashing good looks and charming wit, a child of 2 worlds growing within their quantum matrix, she corrected, though her amusement colored their connection. The luminous hearts seemed to think that mattered. As if in response, the flowers began to pulse with increasing intensity, their energy forming complex geometric patterns in the air. Jason felt their power calling to something deep within him, not just his newly acquired quantum awareness, but his fundamental human drive to push beyond limitations. Ready or not, he said, stepping into the center of the energy matrix. Here we go! The surge of power was unlike anything he'd ever experienced. Pure quantum energy coursed through his being, threatening to tear his consciousness apart. But instead of fighting it, he channeled it through the patterns he'd observed in the luminous hearts, letting it flow through him like light through crystal. Through their bond, Rhea gasped as she witnessed his transformation. The quantum energy wasn't just passing through him, it was being transformed, refined, and redirected in ways her people had never imagined possible. "The luminous hearts," she exclaimed. "They're not just protecting our child. They're using your energy pattern as a template for something new." The arrival of Ria's people was heralded by the distinctive hum of quantum drives descending through the atmosphere. The Council of Elders, resplendent in their ceremonial robes that shifted colors with each movement, materialized at the edge of the sacred grove. "By the eternal flow," breathed the High Elder, his silver skin almost white with shock. "What have you done?" "Ria Nar." Jason stood tall beside her, his newly transformed body glowing with integrated quantum energy. The luminous hearts pulsed in sync with their shared biorhythms, creating a spectacular display that even the most conservative elder couldn't ignore. "What I've done," Ria replied, her voice carrying the strength of their bond as witness, "is the next step in our evolution." Through their connection, Jason could sense her mix of defiance and hope. Her hand found his, their energies intertwining visibly in the space between them. "This human," another elder spat, the word like a curse, "has corrupted our sacred trials." "Corrupted?" Jason couldn't help but laugh, the sound causing ripples in the quantum field around them. "Your sacred flowers seem to disagree." As if in response, the luminous hearts blazed brighter, their energy forming protective patterns around the couple. "The unborn child's quantum signature pulses strongly," drawing gasps from the assembled elders. "Impossible," whispered one of the younger council members, her mercury eyes wide with fascination. "The sacred flora has never responded to any being this way." The High Elder stepped forward, his ancient face a mask of conflicting emotions. "You carry a hybrid child," he stated, his gaze fixed on Ria's abdomen. "You would dilute our pure bloodline with human genetics." "I would strengthen it," Ria countered, her free hand resting protectively over their growing child. "Look around you, Elder." The luminous hearts themselves recognized the potential in this union. Jason felt a surge of pride through their bond. Good. Gone was the dismissive scientist who'd once mocked human capabilities. In her place stood a woman who understood that progress often came from unexpected sources. "Show them," she whispered through their connection. "Show them what humanity can do." Drawing on his newly mastered quantum abilities, Jason reached out to the sacred grove. The energy patterns he'd learned during the trials flowed through him naturally now, no longer foreign but part of his expanded consciousness. The luminous hearts responded eagerly, their crystalline structures growing and shifting to create a living display of the quantum web that connected all things. Through this manifestation, the elders could see what Jason and Ria had discovered: the potential for growth, adaptation, and evolution that came from embracing change rather than fearing it. "Your traditions speak of maintaining purity," Jason addressed the council, his voice resonating with both human conviction and quantum harmony. "But what is purity without growth? What is tradition without evolution?" The youngest elder stepped closer, her scientific curiosity overcoming centuries of ingrained prejudice. "The quantum patterns. They're more stable than anything in our records. How is this possible?" "Because humans don't try to control quantum energy," Ria explained, her scientific mind finding the words to bridge understanding. "They adapt to it, flow with it, make it part of themselves rather than trying to bend it to rigid forms." The High Elder's face remained stern, but something shifted in his mercury eyes as he watched the display. "Our laws are absolute. No outsider may complete the trials. No hybrid child may carry our bloodline." "Then perhaps," came a new voice, "it is time for the laws to evolve." All heads turned to see an ancient female elder emerge from the quantum shadows. Her skin bore patterns similar to those now visible on Jason's, evidence of long-forgotten experiments in adaptation. "Mother," Ria whispered in shock. The Ancient One, as she was known in their society, moved with fluid grace through the assembled council. "I have waited centuries for this moment," she said, her voice carrying the weight of accumulated wisdom. "For someone brave enough to challenge our stagnation." She reached out to touch the quantum pattern swirling around Jason and Ria. "Our ancestors did not achieve greatness by refusing to change. They embraced the unknown, pushed boundaries, evolved." The High Elder's expression wavered. "But the purity of our line is meaningless if it leads to our extinction." The Ancient One cut him off. "We have not produced a truly new quantum pattern in over 1,000 years. Yet here, She gestured to the brilliant display around them. A human achieves in days what we have failed to do in centuries. Through their bond, Jason felt Rhea's surge of hope. The Ancient One's support carried enormous weight in their society. More than that, her words spoke to a truth many had felt but feared to acknowledge: the need for change. The child they carry, the Ancient One continued, placing a hand over Rhea's abdomen, represents not the dilution of our species, but its renewal. The luminous hearts themselves recognize this truth. The sacred flowers pulsed in agreement, their light forming patterns that even the most conservative elder couldn't dismiss. The quantum web around them shifted, showing possibilities and potential futures where human adaptability combined with their species' quantum mastery to create something greater than either alone. Well, Jason said into the weighted silence that followed, unable to resist, I did technically complete all the trials. Doesn't that make me qualified to have a say in this? The High Elder's quantum aura flickered as he considered the unprecedented situation before him. After several moments of tense silence, he spoke with measured words. Perhaps there is wisdom in adaptation. He nodded, his mercury eyes reflecting the pulsing light of the luminous hearts. But such changes must be guided by tradition, not merely thrust upon us. Then let us forge a new tradition, the Ancient One suggested, her weathered hands weaving patterns in the quantum field, one that honors our past while embracing our future. Jason felt Rhea's surge of hope through their bond. Her fingers tightened around his as the High Elder nodded slowly. We propose a compromise, the Elder announced. The human has indeed completed our trials, but in an unconventional manner. Therefore, let him prove the worth of his methods by teaching them to others. You want me to be a teacher? Jason asked, amusement coloring his quantum signature. An ambassador, the High Elder corrected, one who can bridge the gap between our people's understanding of quantum reality. In return, your union with Rhea Nar will be formally recognized, and your child acknowledged as a legitimate heir to both lineages. Through their connection, Jason felt Rhea's excitement at the possibility, her scientific mind already racing with the potential implications of combining their species' different approaches to quantum manipulation. There's just one condition, the young elder who'd shown curiosity earlier added. You must establish a new school of quantum studies here in the Sacred Grove. The luminous hearts clearly respond to your unique energy signature. It would be foolish to ignore such a gift. Jason grinned, the bioluminescent patterns under his skin brightening. So you're saying that because I found a flower, I now have to help run a school? Talk about escalating commitments. His humor rippled through the quantum field, causing several of the younger council members to hide smiles. Even the High Elder's stern expression softened slightly. Your human capacity for levity in serious moments is not entirely unwelcome, the Ancient One observed. Perhaps it will help our people remember that growth need not always be solemn. Rhea stepped forward, her free hand resting on her abdomen where their child's quantum signature pulsed strongly. And what of our baby? Will they be free to choose their own path? Your child will be the first of a new generation, the Ancient One declared. One that carries the strengths of both species. They will help guide us all into an era of unprecedented growth and understanding. The luminous hearts seemed to approve of this declaration, their glow intensifying until the entire grove was bathed in blue-green light. Through their enhanced awareness, Jason and Rhea could sense the flower's satisfaction with this outcome. Well, Jason said, turning to face his bondmate, this is quite a step up from our first meeting. Remember when you thought that joking promise would scare me away? Rhea's mercury eyes sparkled with both love and mischief. I should have known better than to underestimate human determination, especially yours. Their shared memory of that first encounter flowed through their bond. Her dismissive challenge, his stubborn persistence, the moment he revealed the hidden nature of the luminous hearts. What had begun as a flirtatious game had evolved into something that would reshape both their societies. Your face when I actually found the flower, Jason teased, pulling her closer. Worth every minute of searching. And now you've found so much more, she whispered, their energy intertwining visibly in the quantum field. The Ancient One raised her hands, drawing everyone's attention. Let it be recorded that on this day we witnessed not just the union of two beings, but the beginning of a new chapter in our people's history. The human Jason Brown, who saw what we had overlooked, and Rhea Nar, who had the courage to embrace change, will lead us into this new era. The council members, one by one, stepped forward to add their quantum signatures to the proclamation, each acknowledgement causing the luminous hearts to pulse brighter until the grove blazed with living light. "I hope you're ready for this, Rhea," Jason said through their bond. "Teaching quantum mechanics to stubborn elders won't be easy." Jason's response carried all his characteristic confidence and humor. "Hey, I found the rarest flower in the jungle, won the heart of the most beautiful alien woman I've ever met, and managed to impress a council of quantum masters. How hard can teaching be?" Their shared laughter rippled through the quantum field, causing the luminous hearts to dance with sympathetic joy. Their child's energy signature pulsed strongly, already showing signs of both human adaptability and alien quantum mastery. The Ancient One's final words seemed to echo through both physical and quantum space. "From a simple challenge comes universal change. From a joke springs eternal truth. Let all remember that the greatest discoveries often come from the most unexpected sources." And so, in a grove of flowers that hid in plain sight, a new chapter began. Not just for Jason and Rhea, but for both their species. Their story would be told for generations of how a human's determination and an alien's willingness to change reshaped the very fabric of their societies. All because of a joking promise about a rare flower and the expression she made when he actually found it.